Good afternoon. I'm Hannah Bank, Head of FOW and SRP Events Asia, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to day 2 of the FOW Japan Virtual Conference 2021. It is great to see you all for what promises to be a lively and informative day 2. Today's agenda will consist of 1 keynote speech, a presentation and fireside chat, and 2 panel discussions. Before introducing our first speaker for the day, I'd like to thank all of our speakers who will be contributing to today's sessions. I would also like to send a big thank you to our event partner, JPX, and all of our other sponsors and supporting associations for their support, without which this event would not be possible. Our first session today will be looking at the International Financial Center initiatives. I'm delighted to welcome Ms. Nakagawa-san, Director for Asset Management Business at the Financial Services Agency. Ms. Nakagawa-san joined the JFSA in 2000 and has since worked in various positions across the Financial Markets Division, Market Analysis Office, and International Affairs Office. She has also worked at the Cabinet Office between 2004 and 2006 as a staff economist. Today we look forward to hearing from our speakers, but we would also like to hear from you too. We encourage you to ask questions throughout each session, which you can do via the question function on your screen. Every session is being recorded and will be available to you on demand. I'd now like to hand over to Ms. Nakagawa-san to get started.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are accessing from. First, I would like to thank the Futures and Options World for inviting me to this webinar. I am Saiko Nakagawa, Director at JFSA, Japan's Financial Services Agency. Today, I will talk about how Japan is aiming to play greater roles in the global financial markets under the new policy package, International Financial Center Initiative. Let me start with why we believe this initiative is important for Japan and why overseas asset managers should consider starting a business in Japan. We emphasize the internationalization of Japan's financial sector through the initiative will create a win-win situation for both Japan and overseas asset managers. On the Japan side, it will create more jobs in the financial sector and beyond. A more efficient allocation of financial resources will lead to a higher GDP. Simultaneously, the initiative will also benefit overseas asset managers entering Japan. We will provide them with opportunities to 1. Raise funds from Japanese households, 2. Gain first-hand information from Japanese companies, and 3. Enhance the quality of life of employees. I will take a little more on these in the following slide. The left chart shows that Japan's household financial assets soared to a record high at around 18 trillion US dollars, half of which is in cash and bank deposits, implying greater potential for asset management businesses. We are also witnessing an increasing appetite for non-traditional investments. On your right, you can see the asset under management have almost doubled in the past 10 years. Next, let's take a glance at institutional investors in Japan. On your left, you can see how they increased their asset allocation to alternative assets. You can see one example on your right. Japan's Government Pension Investment Fund, or GPIF, has dramatically increased alternative investments from 10 years ago to nearly 9 billion US dollars in 2020. From a non-finance angle, living in Japan will enhance the quality of life of employees. First, it may sound like a cliche, but Japan is a very safe country, thanks to its very low crime rate, well-developed healthcare system, high air quality, to name a few. However, safety does not mean you are bored here. There are many holiday destinations with a wide variety of nature and culture. From skiing resort in Hokkaido in the north, temples and shrines in Kyoto, and beautiful coral reefs along the coast in Okinawa in the south. Moreover, no city in the world has more Michelin-starred restaurants than Tokyo. Japan is a great place for both business and pleasure. Next, I will dive into the details of our new initiative to attract overseas investment professionals to Japan. The International Financial Center Initiative is a top priority for the government of Japan. Last year, Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga stated in his policy speech, quote, "We will welcome finance sector professionals from overseas, aiming to be a financial center for Asia and even a global finance center," unquote. He also mentioned 3 government responses to be taken immediately, namely, decrease tax burdens of overseas financial professionals, expand English administrative services to eliminate Japanese communication with regulators, and relax residential status requirements to make life in Japan much easier. We are fully aware that just tweaking financial regulation, the area where JFSA has jurisdictions over, is not enough to internationalize Japan's financial sector and to attract talents from overseas. Therefore, a government-wide approach has been taken to achieve collaboration among government agencies. The policy package is comprehensive, encompassing reforms not only on financial regulation, but also on tax, visa arrangements, and company setup and livelihood support of overseas investment professionals. To start with financial regulation, the Financial Market Entry Office was established this January, which is a one-stop English contact for newly entering asset management firms. The entry office was relocated from Kasumigaseki, the government district, to Nihonbashi Kabutocho, which is the center of Tokyo's financial district, just 1 block away from the Tokyo Stock Exchange. This place is known as FinGate, where over 50 domestic and overseas hedge funds and fintech companies have already located their Japan offices. This is a clear message from us that we are ready to reach out to the industry for more interaction. We welcome you to visit our office when the situation allows, or make inquiries by email or phone anytime. The entry office provides professional English support from pre-application consultation to registration and supervision. In other words, no communication and no materials in Japanese are necessary. During the past 9 months since the opening of the entry office, 4 firms have completed the all-in-English registration process. It took 3 months or shorter for all cases. The first case is Affirmative Investment Management Japan. We recently publicized an interview with its president, Mr. Kojima. Mr. Kojima explained, quote, "I was prepared for a long-term battle, but when I actually went through the process, it was a groundless fear," unquote. If you are interested in his story, you can read the full article on the interview on our website. Of course, the length to complete the registration may differ depending on your preparedness, but we do our best to provide the process as smoothly as possible. Along with a regular registration process, we will put in place 2 new simplified market entry procedures, specifically targeted at overseas asset managers. These 2 schemes are much more simplified than the existing registration procedures required under the Financial Instrument and Exchange Act. The first scheme is for overseas firms that are authorized to engage in asset management business in designated foreign jurisdiction with minimum 3 years business track record. The second one is for partnership-type funds, which mainly manage money from overseas qualified investors, such as foreign corporations or wealthy foreign residents. Both entry schemes are now under the process of finalization and will be implemented by the end of this November. We also worked together with the tax authority to make bold tax reforms. For individual income tax purposes, the tax treatment of carried interest had been unclear. Now we have clarified through the consultation with our tax authority that carried interest is taxed at 20% as capital gain, rather than at 55% in the highest tax bracket as part of the progressive aggregate personal income taxation, if the profit is distributed in a way that has an economic rationality. For corporate tax purposes, the performance-based compensation to directors has been deductible only for listed companies. The recent revision will enable unlisted non-family companies to deduct the performance-based compensation to directors from the tax base, which will be in force this November. As I explained, Japan is a safe country to live in, but for a long time, Japan had the reputation that it is not a safe country to die. But why can't you die safely in safe countries? This is because all of your assets, either located in Japan or not, were subject to Japan's inheritance tax if you had lived in Japan for 10 years or longer. But this is no longer true. Based on the tax reform this April, when a person with a valid Japanese working visa dies, his or her asset outside of Japan can be exempt from Japan's inheritance tax for heirs outside of Japan, no matter how long the descendant has lived in Japan. You need to obtain residential status when you want to live and work in Japan. Here, the highly skilled foreign professional status is available. You are qualified if your points exceed 70. Your points are calculated based on your income, university degrees, job experience, and so on. Let's consider a hypothetical case. If your income exceeds 100,000 US dollars, you get 40 points. If you have a master's degree, you get 20 points. A new bonus category is added for asset management business, which is 10 points. So 40 plus 20 plus 10, your points are now 70, meaning that you qualify. There are several preferential treatments. For instance, you can bring helpers and nannies from outside of Japan with you. Your spouse can also work full-time without obtaining a visa independently. And your visa application is processed on the fast track approximately within 10 days. This year, JFSA has commissioned our private business partner, Saiko Japan, to undertake the Financial Startup Support Program, which provides support for business setup free of charge. Starting a new asset management business involves many steps other than registration, which are in many cases time-consuming and require the communication in Japanese. The program offers English support not only for financial license application, but also for compliance officer recruitment, incorporation, visa application, bank account opening, which all come with the reimbursement of the cost in the end. The maximum amount for the reimbursement per company is set at 20 million yen, approximately 180,000 in US dollars. If you are seeking to launch an asset management business in Japan, this is a perfect program. Please apply before our budget is used up. Our website posts a wide variety of information beyond what I have covered today. In addition, our financial market entry office is ready to respond to your specific inquiries. Last but not least, if you are interested in the Financial Startup Support Program, I would highly encourage you to contact our financial market entry office as soon as possible. This is all I have today. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Nakagawa-san. That was the perfect opening speech. And I'm sure everyone else, found it very informative, and this is a great start to day 2 of the 2021 FOW Japan virtual conference. We very much hope you all have enjoyed listening to the session. We will now be taking a 5-minute break and will reconvene at 3:55 p.m. Tokyo time, which is 2:55 p.m. Singapore time, for the FinCity Tokyo Building Access to the Financial World Fireside Chat. We look forward to seeing you shortly.